Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. My name's Dave and thanks for joining me. I thought tonight I've got a bit of a lack of a video to do, so I thought I might do about GPS. So I'm sorry, I'm going to put my glasses on because I'm going to read from the screen and I'm going to move it to the other screen so I'm a little bit more facing the direction of the camera. So, off-road navigation. In this modern world of everything online and mobile communications, it's no surprise that the old maps are almost a thing of the past. And map reading is a skill that is disappearing almost faster than the maps themselves. In this video, I will show you the different GPS devices, the ones that I use, and even throw in some old-fashioned map reading in case anyone ever wondered how to do that. Okay, so options. What options do you have? They're easy. You can choose between paper maps or electronic systems. That's your options. So let's look at the paper maps first. So the pros and cons. The pros, they don't need any power to work. They're quite light and there's no glare off the paper. The cons are substantially worse. They're made of paper and they can get wet and ruined easily. As soon as you buy it, it's out of date. Updates are never applied. You need a lot of maps to cover a country. You also require to know the directions, usually found using a compass. Once you get to the edge, you need the next map. So looking at these two lists, you may wonder why we ever use maps. Contrary to modern belief, maps were the only method of navigation up to 30 years ago. And even GPS was in its infancy and was hugely expensive. Yes, you can waterproof paper, but you still need to observe 2, 3, 4 and 5. However, there was nothing else, so it was maps or nothing, and if it meant certain death, then maps it was. So the history of maps. Maps date back thousands and thousands of years, with early civilizations recognizing the importance of mapping to navigate and understanding their surroundings. One of the most significant contributions to developing mapping was by the Greek scholar Eratosthenes, who calculated the circumference of the Earth with remarkable accuracy around 240 BCE. This achievement gave geographical studies a mathematical basis and laid the foundation for more accurate mapping. The Romans also made a significant advance in mapping, creating the detailed maps of the vast empire and using them to facilitate trade, governance and military conquest. The Roman Empire's mapping efforts were so extensive that many of their maps have survived to this day, providing valuable insights to the geographical knowledge and understanding of the world. In the Middle Ages, they saw the development of new mapping techniques, including the use of astronomical observations to determine latitude and longitude. The age of explorations in the 15th and 16th century led to the creation of more accurate and detailed maps of the world, as European explorers and cartographers sought to chart new lands and territories. The 18th and 19th centuries saw the development of new mapping technologies using the use of triangulation and photogrammetry to create accurate topographic maps. The 20th century saw the introduction of aerial photography and satellite imaging, which revolutionized the field of cartography and enabled the creation of highly accurate and detailed maps. Today, mapping technology continues to evolve with the use of GPS, GIS and other digital technologies enable the creation of highly accurate and interactive maps. Despite the rapid pace of technological change, the fundamental principles of mapping remain the same, with cartographers continuing to use a combination of scientific observation, mathematical calculation, artistic skill to create maps that help us understand and navigate the world around us. So in there we mentioned GPS and GIS. So what are those? So GPS simply means Global Positioning System. And it's not a navigation system in itself, it just tells you where you are at any point on the Earth. GIS on the other hand means Geographic Information System. It is a system that creates, manages and analyzes maps, all types of data. It connects data to a map, integrating location data, where they are, with all types of descriptive information, what things are like there. This provides a foundation for mapping and analysis used in science and almost every industry. For example, councils use GIS to map wheelie bin data, and that is how they know if a house has 2 bins or not. So neither of these two concepts are maps, but both can be used to find your way in conjunction with map data. GIS isn't really of any use to us, so we'll concentrate on GPS for the remainder of this video. So what's the history of GPS? Would anyone be surprised to know that GPS has been around for 50 years? However, it has only been commercially available for use since 1995, or approximately 30 years. In the 1960s, the US Department of Defense began working on a more advanced system known as the navigation system using timing and ranging, Navstar, which would eventually become the GPS we know today. The project was led by 3 physicists and a mathematician, including Gladys West, who made significant contributions to the development of the system. After 2 decades of work, the modern GPS system and its network of 24 satellites became fully operational in 1995. The system uses a constellation of satellites orbiting the Earth to provide location information to GPS transmitters on the ground. The satellites transmit radio signals that contain their location and their current time, which is used by GPS receivers to calculate their own location. The development of GPS was a collaborative effort between the US military and civilian organizations. The system was initially intended for military use, but it quickly became clear that its potential benefits extended far beyond the military. Today, GPS is used in a wide range of applications, from navigation and tracking to precision agriculture and emergency services. Over the years, GPS has undergone several upgrades and modernizations, including the addition of new satellites, improved signal accuracy. The system has also become more accessible and affordable, making it possible with anyone with a GPS receiver to use its services. So what is GPS? The Global Positioning System, GPS, is a space-based radio navigation system. It's owned by the US government and operated by the United States Air Force. It can pinpoint a 3-dimensional position to meter level accuracy and time in the 10 nanosecond level, worldwide, 24/7. GPS is comprised of 3 different parts. Space segment, a constellation of at least 24 US government satellites distributed in 6 orbital planes inclined 55 degrees from the equator in a medium Earth orbit at about 20,200 kilometers, 12,500 miles, and circling the Earth every 12 hours. The control segment stations on Earth monitoring and maintaining the GPS satellites, and the user segment, receivers that process navigation signals from the GPS satellites and calculate position and time. So what GPS devices do you currently own or use? Well, your car, if it's new enough, has a GPS receiver. Any aftermarket navigation device like a GPS, Navman, Garmin, they all are GPS devices. They all have receivers in them. Any mobile phone or tablet has a GPS device in it. A laptop has a GPS device. Vehicle trackers, the ones that when your car gets stolen you can track where your vehicle is, they're all GPS. And PLBs, emergency personal locator beacons, they have GPS in them now as well. Okay, so back to off-road navigation. So looking at navigation today, we would most likely choose GPS navigation as the path forward. No pun intended. However, due to reliability issues and blackout spots, etc., often many of us carry conventional maps as a backup. The Australian outback requires a navigational system, especially in the desert, so you have to have them. So why does GPS sometimes show me in the wrong place? Well, we've all been using a navigator when the arrow's in the field next to you and it's driving along next to you, but it doesn't quite know where you are. This can be caused by the trees or the number of satellites in use. However, there are other issues that can cause bad signals, such as satellite geometry, signal blockage, atmospheric conditions, receiver design, features, quality and signal reflected off buildings or walls, etc. That's called multipath. Here's a diagram. For example, GPS enables smartphones that are typically accurate to within 16 feet or 4.9 meters radius under the open sky. However, their accuracy worsens near buildings, bridges and trees. However, high-end users boost GPS accuracy with dual frequency receivers and or augmentation systems. These can enable real-time positioning within a few centimeters and long-term measurements at the millimeter level. So what do I use? Well, I started off with a map and a VMS 700 HDX, which I purchased from King's and still own and use. I now use two HEMA map books, the Australian Road and 4-wheel drive Atlas and the High Country Victoria. Both have dedicated pages of maps and I use them for quick reference and confirmation and backup. GPS wise, I use the VMS Touring 700, which is this device, and much newer VMS 3DX. Which is best? Well, this question depends on context. The two books are different beasts and the GPS navigators are definitely older and newer. However, which one is best? Well, you'd think the newer, but that ain't always the case. So the Australia Road and 4-wheel drive Atlas 12th edition, this book tries to be and is claimed to be HEMA's most detailed map book ever. It's just a book full of maps of everywhere in Australia, like an atlas is. The High Country Victoria 3rd edition is more than just an atlas, it's an atlas and guidebook. Also contains 30 top 4-wheel drive trips as enjoyed by Ron and Viv Moon. It has descriptions for everything you'll see and do on those trips, as well as maps. So the VMS Touring 700 HDX, I bought this navigator first out of these four, and it had an issue. Being King's, the auxiliary power plug melted, but I replaced it with a USB cable and that solved the issue. The navigator has both an on and off-road capability and you have to select one at the start. I've used this pre-Google Maps for years and it works well. The only user issue being speed warnings are a little inaccurate. I was driving along Burwood Highway at 75 kbh and it was telling me to slow down. I was surprised because the speed limit was 80 km per hour. And I could only assume that it thought I was on the service lane, which had a speed limit of 60 km an hour. With off-road maps, the device has every map in Australia in its files. However, they have been scanned, and if it gets to the edge of a map, it has to load the next map. It has never loaded an incorrect map, but at times it can take a while to load the next map. This leaves you without a map at all for about a 1 or 2 minute period, which can be an issue. Another irritating feature is that the new maps never load at the same zoom level that you were at, so you always have to zoom the map in again once it's loaded. Easily fixed issue, but never was. So the VMS 3DX. This leads me on to the newer VMS 3DX, which addresses some of the issues but introduces others that can easily be fixed but never seem to be addressed. These maps are seamless, so the fixes of the map issue and the zoom issue in one easy step. However, the device, while it knows addresses, it is an off-road navigator and doesn't work that well on roads. I would like to review this navigator and be fair to VMS. I will say it's a better device than the 700 HDX most of the time. Here goes. The 3DX is not that good on road, but it appears to be a reasonable off-road navigator. The 3D effect adding hills and slopes does help with knowing what terrain you are heading for. The navigator does seem to keep up well, but it has issues as follows. If it gets lost, it just utters in the most irritating American accent, "Start east" or "Start west." It repeats it until it finds where it is. Or you actually turn in that direction. If you're on a north-south track and left and right are a river or a high embankment, it ain't gonna happen. Finding satellites takes forever. The device takes at least 5 to 10 minutes every time it's started to find satellites, even if you're in the open air. Try as I might, the navigator will not find O'Toole's campground, one of the biggest and best known campgrounds in the Victorian High Country. I have tried everything and I still cannot find it. Right. As you can see, I have the VMS 3DX here. It's plugged into a USB and connected to my computer. There it is there. That's a rear camera software. And there's 3D maps. Okay. So I'm going to show you two things now. I'm going to show you how it keeps restarting when you turn it off. But I'm also going to show you how it doesn't know where O'Toole's campground is. So we load up the map, we do this, we go onto the search box at the top here, and it says points of interest. And if I type O'Toole's without an apostrophe and hit search, I get a list of O'Toole's, but none of them are the campground. O'Toole's Road, O'Toole's Road, O'Toole's Road. All of them are O'Toole's Road. So I think to myself, right, I'll cancel that, I'll put an apostrophe in, and then I'll put another T, and we'll try that. You can clearly see there's an apostrophe in there. O'Toole's Flat, O'Toole's Honey, O'Toole's Lane, O'Toole's Road again. So I think to myself, okay, it's been a bit pedantic, but I'll put a capital T there. Same again, exactly the same, still no campground. If I type campground, it makes no difference. To do anything, it makes no difference. Okay, so that is that. So let's go back. You can see it's still initializing for the GPS. Let's get out of here, clear all. There we go. Now then, I hold down the button, comes up with this, it says power off. Okay, so the VMS will now shut down. Now all I have to do is wait, and it'll come back on.
A few moments later.
And there you go. You haven't seen me touch anything, it's turned back on again. Now then, in contrast, if I turn this on, and I'll plug it in just to show you. If you plug it in, it will turn on. So that's come back on. Now this one, when it's loaded up, if I press that down like that, power off. Power off mode. That'll stay off now. This, on the other hand, if I unplug it and then I turn it off, will now stay off, and that'll be done. That is a problem that they need to address, and they won't touch it. They don't think there's anything wrong, but I've told them that once it's off, it should stay off, and it doesn't. It can still charge, but it should stay off. Now it won't come back on. This hasn't come back on. So why does that? Sun glare on a mildly opaque screen just makes this device unusable in bright sunlight, even with the aftermarket sun shield. I have pointed out these issues several times to VMS, and they do not agree that they are issues and have done nothing about them. So would I buy another 3DX? Not likely, it's not really that good, and the fact that VMS ignore me which makes it 100% worse, so no, I wouldn't buy another. So much so that I usually use the map instead. Another issue is that I have come across several roads, some in New South Wales and a couple in Vic, where HEMA and VMS have different names for the roads. The government seem to side with the VMS, so even HEMA is flawed too. Now, as I said, we'll look at finding where we are on a map. So finding where you are, you'll need to find a compass like this, or buy a compass like this, for this to work. Not many people have compasses anymore. You should always have one, because you can never guarantee when your electronics are going to stop working. Alright, so you will also be required to see some of the landmarks such as hilltops, aerials, or anything marked on your map, because that's how you find out, you triangulate your location from those marks on the map. So a hilltop, triangulation point, an aerial, anything like that will do this job. Okay, so here's how to triangulate your position. You need a map, you need a compass like this, and what you need to do is you need to find two places on the map that you can see in your local area. So I'm going to say one on Gatta Station Hut, and we're also going to say the summit of Mount Hart, which is right there on the map. So what you do is you look along this line here. You hold it horizontal, you look down that line and you get that in line with what you're looking at, and you turn your dial to point in the same direction as the red needle. Now, you've got to bear in mind that if you have a needle like that and it settles down, if you take something metal near it, watch how it affects it. You see how it changes? So you can't have anything metal near you. You must keep an eye on that. So what I've done is I've said that Mount Hart is 180 degrees from where I am. And I've said that Wanangata Hut is 200 degrees from where I am. And what you do then is let's say it's 200 degrees, you set your pointer to 200 degrees, like so, and then you point that to the north, wherever the north is, and you should get something similar to the line I've drawn on there. You draw a line across there and you draw a line vertically, and then where they cross is exactly where you are. That's how you find your location on a map. So you now know. So that's what you need to do. So you can do it with these maps. As long as you can see some points, you can work out where you are. If it's foggy and misty and you can't see anything, GPS. That's all you can use. Okay, so this is a little bit difficult for me. I don't know how to say this without upsetting people, but on every video I ask for likes and subscribers and things like that. Now, subscribers, we're nearly at 500. I've been doing this channel, I've done 160 videos. There are people out there with 10 videos who've got 50,000 subscribers. I know it's not anybody's individual fault that there's no subscribers, and it's probably my crap video making. However, I'm going to have to do something about this, and if I don't start getting at least some more likes and subscribers, then I'm going to have to start looking at content that is very controversial, like electric cars, religion, things like that. I don't want to go down that path. I like doing what I'm doing. But if you don't like and subscribe, that may be the way I have to go. I don't really want to do that. I'd like you to keep me going, but it's up to you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.